Hi, my name is Mara Cole. This is my daughter Nora. Um, and we're giving a presentation on our artwork and um, our process and our inspirations. Starting off, this is a picture of me when I was 5 years old, my first day of kindergarten with my younger brother Corey. And this was the moment that I knew that I wanted to be an artist when I was 5. I felt really compelled to make art, to create, and to draw. Um, when I first started out, we go. When I first started out uh, drawing, I loved horses, and that was one thing that I drew quite a lot. Pretty obsessed with that, and drawing mostly from pictures and things that I found in magazines and in the newspaper and that type of thing. But quickly, I progressed in my later teen years. I really was very interested in drawing a lot more from life. And so, if I could get someone to pose for me, that was something that I was really interested in early on, drawing people. In the mid 90s, I went to Luther College in Decorah, Iowa to pursue um, painting and drawing and to get a bachelor's degree in studio art. And I took quite a few life drawing classes, and I figured right away that that was something that I had a lot of passion for. Um, was life drawing. Took quite a few classes for that. Um, I was quickly developed an interest in line and pursuing how I could create something with as few lines as possible, infuse as much passion and emotion into those lines in order to create an image. Was very interesting to me, and really liked trying to do these quick sketches of maybe 10 or 15 minutes and see how much I could capture in a really short amount of time. Um, my junior year of college in 1996, I got the opportunity to be an au pair in Florence, Italy, which was a really life-changing experience. I dropped the children off at a school right outside of the city of Florence, and then I took classes at Studio Art Centers International, downtown Florence, and I took art history classes, which was really exciting to be able to travel and see all of the artwork that I've been studying in art books for my entire life in person. Um, After I took classes in the morning, then I had the opportunity to have a couple hours to wander around the city before I had to pick up the children from school. And as you can imagine, there was quite a lot to study, even just in the public spaces in Florence in terms of sculpture and paintings and that type of thing. So I would sit and spend hours and hours drawing um, and studying just the public art that was available there. And that tied in really well with a lot of the life drawing, the new drawing that I had become really interested in my earlier days at Luther College. Um, One of the big museums there in Florence is called the Uffizi Gallery, and they have quite a large collection, including a lot of Botticelli. And so I spent quite a lot of time looking and studying his work, drawing from the figures there. And this is La Primavera, the spring. It was a piece that was one of my favorites there, and I studied this quite a bit. I especially really liked the figures of the three women, the three graces dancing, and that became a theme that is has been prevalent in my work even throughout now. So I did lots of sketches. I loved just the curve and the flow of the women's bodies and the lines. And I refined my style a little bit, became a little bit more abstract, trying to capture that movement in fewer strokes and just simplified a little bit. Um, and I experimented a lot more with line and the human figure quite a bit. When I came home from Italy, I had a senior show and did several pieces based on kind of that flow of the human form. This one's called Sorrow, and I just really tried to capture um, a figure in as few strokes as possible with bold color. This was the end piece of my senior show called Wholeness. And this is an image that's kind of my signature image that I use even for my personal logo even today. Um, After I finished college, I moved to Iowa City, Iowa to be a graphic designer as kind of my main source of income. In 2008, I had my daughter Nora, and at that time I was renting a gallery space in an old school, maybe 10 miles out of town, called the Cosgrove Institute. And this was really a beautiful old building that was renting spaces to artists. And I rented that for a few years in order to complete some large art commissions that I was working on at the time. It was quite a large space, and so we were able to spread out and do an enormous amount of artwork there. It was really a lot of fun. On the weekends, we went out and just created a lot of stuff together. Nora's also been very interested in art and very skilled from the moment that she was born. um, Here we are working on a fun piece together at the studio. Um, as Nora's growing up, I continue to work in graphic design, but also experiment more with line and nudes, painting and drawing. Eventually, I incorporated a little bit more texture, multimedia into my work. I really enjoyed painting and drawing flowers as well. I feel like they have a lot of the same sort of movement as form as the human body. Um, Experimenting with texture, color, watercolor, pen, ink, all kinds of different things to sort of layer on and do different textures and layers, and also continuing to just work with line. Um, the poppy is a theme that I use quite a bit because there's quite large fields of poppies in Italy, and I always felt those were extremely beautiful. And that red color and the flow and the texture of the poppies comes up quite a lot in my work. And I dabbled a little bit in texture, I'm sorry, in embroidery and other types of fabric arts and that type of thing, although that's a little bit more time consuming. Nora's always been one of my favorite subjects, and she loves the outdoors and exploring, and bugs, and so I've always loved to capture that in my work. Here she is with one of our dogs. Um, I also enjoy doing portraits of our pets. We have quite a few rescue pets, and so um, experiment a little bit with tinted paper, which is fun. More portraits of pets. Here's the poppies again. I also enjoy doing drawings for friends. I do drawings quite a bit and give away to friends as gifts if they have a pet pass away, or maybe for a milestone birthday, those types of things. I've always also been very interested in drawing profiles of children. I think are really beautiful and compelling. During the pandemic, Nora and I did quite a lot of art, stuck in the house for a couple of years. And so every weekend when I went to go get groceries, I'd pick up another orchid. That was kind of one of our coping mechanisms to surviving, staying inside all the time, was to have our entire house covered with these beautiful flowers. And I found that they had the same kind of flowing lines as a human figure. And so I found that really interesting. And Georgia O'Keeffe is one of our favorite artists. And so I've always really admired and loved her work, and sort of was thinking of her when I was doing a lot of these flower drawings and paintings. Also during, pandemic times, we had quite a lot of change in our own personal lives. And so we had a show earlier this year in Decorah, Iowa. And so we created a lot of this work as sketches to kind of help us process this change in our life the last couple of years. This is one piece that I did thinking of another um, uh, influence of mine, Frida Kahlo, The Two Fridas, which is a piece that I've always really loved. I thought it had a lot of emotion. Um, Here's Nora again, another portrait of her, a little bit more of a serious, contemplative Nora North Star, because she's always been my North Star, my most important thing in my life. Um, Another of Nora with her profile. Um, Another piece in the show, just a very brief sketch, line, and quick application of color. Um, Here's the poppies again. Our show in the spring was called Metamorphosis, and we talked a lot about change. This one's called What is Old Will Soon Become New Again. Change and metamorphosis and moving forward with change. This is a deer skull that we actually found while we were hiking at Mariposa Park with our family near Des Moines. And Nora and I found an entire deer skeleton and gleefully dug it out of the ground, the skeleton and the skull and the pelvis and the backbone, and carried it around the park. Channeling another love of ours, Georgia O'Keeffe. And we brought it home and did a number of drawings from that deer skeleton. And this is my final piece, also the poppies once more. This is called With Love to Italy. And so this was just kind of an homage to my time living abroad and all the things that I learned while I was there and how it influenced my work. And I'll hand it off to Nora for her work.
Hello, as my mom said, my name is Nora, and I wanted to talk more about my process and how I got to the place I am today. So I wanted to start about my process when I was younger, a few years ago. This was in 2020, and I was only at this point drawing from actual pictures that I found online and other types of like I don't know, contemporary things. I didn't really have much like imaginative play with my artistic style like at all at this point. But although I did really enjoy doing these types of drawings, I really wanted to move on and try something new. So as you can see here, although this is still from a picture, I think you can see that I've branched out a little bit more and tried a new style. Although this piece is not as detailed as this piece, I think that it starts to show the change and the growth of my actual art style. And you move on to this piece, which was one of the first paintings that I had ever sold. That was my own painting, and I was really proud of it at the time. And you can see influences from impressionistic artists that I had been studying in my art class. And I found my passion with art and painting here. If you look onto this one, which is called The Gold Lady, which shows a theme of goldfish, although it's not currently in this slideshow, I'm actually working on a piece that has fish included, and I found great fascination in them actually. So within my paintings, I start to branch off into my own personal like love and interests into like completely new ideas. So here you can see this is a little bit of a train wreck, but this is where I started with my painting. You can see even right below the rim of the hat that there's swatches so I can try to figure out where colors go and what looks good together. I mean, even those swatches, that's an early color scheme that I was trying to swatch together, and it ended up not working. It ended up being completely different than what I worked out. And you can see a big splot of random paint. That's because sometimes I like to put paint straight onto the canvas and mix it and then pretty much go everywhere. Like the beginning of my paintings tend to be quite chaotic. So then you move on to what I like to call as the clown stage because you're putting down big, big, like strokes of color, just right on the nose, right on the cheeks, places where I want color to show. Although the final piece looks almost nothing like this, it ends up like bringing color into the face and getting a general idea. I like my paintings to be very colorful and to actually have like, I don't know, a sort of chaos to them, like I said. So I think that my process definitely reflects that. and you move on. And here is where I finally found the actual outline of the profile. And although the actual face itself definitely grows and changes from this spot, like I painted over the eyes more than 5 or 6 times because I have a rule for myself that if I don't like something and I've been working on it for over an hour, then I am just gonna completely paint over it and start again. Here you can see that there's a lot of change and improvement in the face from this last slide, and I think that this is a lot closer to what the painting ends up really being. But although I still don't really have a clear theme, and as my paintings go, I kind of wing it, to be frank. I definitely don't go with one certain theme or like an original idea. Like, for example, this painting actually started out as a group of 3 ladies together, and they were all supposed to be mushroom women. And as you can see here, that it has actually strayed very far from that, and 2 of the girls were completely covered, and there's the only thing you can really see that's even close to being a mushroom is the cap, which is pretty much almost gone at this point. Here you can see it's almost finished, but I still didn't have a main focal point and I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted it to finally be. So I just, again, winged it and I put as much pattern in color and things that I enjoyed into the painting because I didn't want it to have to be something that was so serious. And I don't take myself serious when it comes to painting. So I just end up with pieces that I really like and a process that I really enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.